Okay, so when you are playing the solitaire game, the backstory to the solitaire game is that you, as a Terminator, have been captured by the Clone Master and brought into the house, or captured by the Jellies, brought into the house. The game starts with you regaining consciousness, realizing where you are, and busting out of your handcuffs and starting to kick everybody's ass and run wild through the house, destroying things, or the factory, or the warehouse, or whatever you want to call it, and just running ape shit throughout the place. As I said in the previous video, for the solitaire game, there's 12 turns total. You have to escape the building before the 12th turn is complete. If you do not, you're stuck, and that means that the Clone Master, or the bad guys in general, they're gonna get, I think it's 30 points because you didn't escape. If you do escape, they don't gain those points. The points get calculated just as normal, whether you escape or not. Again, it's all about the importance of the 30-point difference. There's a few ways that when you play the beginner game or the advanced game, you start outside of the building. There's only 3 ways that you can enter the building. One is by punching or kicking down the front door and busting your way in through the front door and kind of going nuts. Another one is through the garbage disposal up here. Up here. And then another one, believe it or not, is through the sewage outlet. And you kind of get into the house through the bathroom, basically, through the toilet. There's another loo there. There's another loo there. I believe if you enter there, you can pop up in any one of these 3 locations. When you're escaping, the same thing. You either have to bust down the front door to get out of there, or make it out through the sewage or the garbage disposal to get the hell out. What else can I tell you about this? So that's how it starts. There's a couple of differences between the solo game and when you're playing against an opponent or a couple of opponents. In the solo game, you're only in charge of one of the Terminators. When you're playing against an opponent, you have control of 3 Terminators. And of course, the importance of getting those Terminators into the building right away is paramount to kind of any sort of success you might have. Let me show you the Terminator sheet. Mentioned it before. Here's the names of the Terminators you can choose from. They all have, let me just double check before I say it. Yeah, they all have the same movement. They're all allowed to move 5 spaces. The Clone Master has a movement of 4, and the Jellies have a movement of 5. Yes, all 12 of them have a movement of 5. For the setup on this game, I believe I said it in the first one. I'll just kind of recap it. You start a pool of the chits, of the Jellies, the servants, the scientists, mix them all up, place them face down throughout the building. Once I enter a room, once my Terminator enters a room, that activates any of the chits that are in that room. So for example, as soon as I enter this biological room there, it's going to activate the 2 chits that are there and turn them over. Until then, none of them move. If you were playing against an actual opponent, obviously these things would be coming after you, or they'd be guarding certain areas, or whatever the case may be, because somebody is in control of them. But in this one, they only activate once you enter the room. And I believe that's about it for that. So maybe we'll just kind of have a look. These are the chits here. These are the weapons. The only people that can hold weapons are the Jellies. The Terminators can never carry weapons. Here's just some chits to symbolize. These are the destroyed clone tanks. These are the destroyed computer systems, just so you can keep track. As I mentioned before, the black images on the white background are for the jellies. The red with the white background are for the Terminators. There's some extra rules as well too. There's some rules that you can add in, and I think for this, these are extra computers, these are extra armored doors, and there's an extra clone tank. Now I'm not sure, now that I'm thinking about it, I have a feeling I should have had that clone tank turned upside down as well and placed in the room. That's a mistake on my part, unless that's a rule that you can kind of take in or take out as you see fit. So we won't worry about that now, we'll keep it out. What else should I tell you? Let's have a quick look at the combat results. Actually, let's not look at that. The other thing that we'll talk about briefly, at the beginning of the game, whether you're playing solo, whether you're playing an advanced game or a beginner's game, however many Terminators you have, each one of them starts off the game with kind of 7 points allotted to them that you can disperse any way you see fit across these. You can leave one with a 0, you can have all of them with 1. I've chosen to kind of mix it up. 2 for the fist, 1 for kick, 1 for monkey, 2 for the mist, and 1 for the heart. So you kind of separate them however you want. You'll see what that means as we kind of get into talking about combat. But again, because I'm only playing the solitaire, I only have the one character, which is Rising Dream. So I've split up his 7 points in this fashion there. The jellies themselves, they just have predetermined defense and attacks with them, and weapons. You can see a couple of them are carrying weapons as well. So these are their choices. When we get into battles, the Terminators can choose 3 of any of these, minus the hearts, and the jellies can choose 2 of any of theirs, again, minus the hearts. Hearts are kind of like your life, so it's not an attack or a defense, it's just something that can be subtracted if you lose. The hearts are also something that once per game turn, you can roll a die to see if you can gain them back. You can never go higher than what your initial number was. So if all of a sudden I have a fight and I got beaten, I can take off one of my hearts. The next game turn I can roll a die to see if I can gain it back, which is basically you've regained consciousness, or you've gained some more energy from the fights, and you're kind of reinvigorated, I guess is maybe the best way to describe it. So when we come back, we'll have a look at the combat results table, and I'll talk to you about the fighting. It's a little confusing. I think I've got a handle on it now. I'm going to have another read of the instructions just to make sure I do indeed have it right. And we'll be back with the final part of Kung Fu 2100.